Yo, what is going on, guys? This is a very different video. I don't really see myself doing too many tutorials in my, I don't even know if you can call this a tutorial because I don't really know too much. But I asked on Twitter last night and the people that responded seemed very interested to see at least how I make my thumbnails. And again, they're very, very simple. So you're not going to learn anything advanced. If you know anything about thumbnails, you're going to be ashamed because, well, frankly, you know what you're doing and I don't. But I do know how to make some basic thumbnails that look a lot better than just one of the default provided thumbnails or a thumbnail that you choose right out of your video. And it's basically just all self-taught through trying things out and watching videos. That's really how you guys can learn and get better as well. So I just wanted to explain and demonstrate a very quick way in which you can make thumbnails for your own videos. I know like a lot of people do this already and some people are way better at it. Obviously, when I'm in a pinch, I'll make my own. But I prefer to have someone make me a thumbnail that actually knows what they're doing. And that can involve a lot of different programs apart from Photoshop, which I use. If you do want more of this stuff, please don't hesitate to drop a like or let me know. I'll try to answer any questions you have pertaining to what I do in this video, and I'll try to answer other ones. But again, I'm not that knowledgeable. I only know very basic things, so I'll try my best. So how you start is you just want your program. I use Photoshop, and you just want to know at least a little basic things about your program. You're going to want to go up to New and make a new 1280 by 720 canvas here. So we got our blank canvas, which is where it all starts. Now, I'm just going to pick a random video out of my videos folder that I probably haven't used. We're just going to pick one without a webcam because it is a little bit easier to make a very basic thumbnail if you don't have a webcam or anything like that. So we're just going to open up one of these right here, and we're going to just skip around until we find kind of an action shot, which is typically what I look for. Without text, preferably. Nothing in the center of the screen here. So if we, okay, here we go. It took me a while, but I finally found kind of a good action shot of a player. This is usually what you kind of want to go for, is some kind of action shot. Hopefully you can get them kind of center screen, which helps a lot. This isn't the best. You'd probably want to look a little bit harder in your video for a better action shot, preferably with them a little bit closer. But you can do some stuff, and I'll show you to make it look like they're a little bit closer than they are. So this is the shot I'm going with. Typically I try to avoid particles just because that kind of interferes sometimes. But we're going to go with this and see how this turns out. So basically I just took a screen cap. I use Gaiazo, I don't know. There's a ton of other ways to do this that are probably far better, but I just do this. And take a screen cap of the frozen image, and then you obviously that loads up. Now that we have the image, we come over to File, we go to Place, we find that image. I just typed in Place. It is called Test. And we have this image here. This is not really an issue down here because what I do anyways is going to enlarge it because he is very small in this. So we're just going to enlarge it here. Sorry, Bluefire. I think you're another smaller YouTuber. I'm not trying to. You're a good action shot, so I figured I'd include you. I remember I've had a discussion with this guy about the fact that I killed him in this video. I typically try to get it pretty center, like I said. And it's nice if you don't have the scoreboard in, but I will show you a couple things you could do with that, hopefully. But I try to avoid the scoreboard if I can. It's not really a big problem, but I'll just go with a very simple one. You know, this would be something like a great title. We'll make up a title on the spot here. You right click over here, and then you would click rasterize. Rasterize? I've never known how to say that, but that's what I just did. So we got this, and this is going to be this is what it's going to look like right here. That's the size of it. That's the natural size. Now, for this next step, Control Plus will zoom you in here, and I just gotta make sure that didn't stop my recording because that's also my hotkey to start a recording on OBS, so that's kind of problematic, but it's all good. So we zoom in a little bit here, and this is the very simple part. It does take a while, and I have to say this, the longer you take and the more time you spend messing around on Photoshop with your thumbnails or just in general, the better it will come out, the more you'll learn, all of that stuff. So just remember that. I'm going to do it very quickly for you guys, so keep that in mind. But we basically just select, this is the tool I use right here, the polygon lasso tool right there. This is a tool I use. You can also use the pen tool, but that's just a little bit more complicated. And it doesn't really matter with Minecraft because everything's so blocky that you don't have to really curve much, but that is another option. So I mean, you can even zoom in farther than this if you want to get really accurate. I just kind of start off at the top usually, and we'll just do a rough outline here of this guy. And the more points you do, the better it will look. It doesn't have to be perfect, because again, we're just outlining, and you'll see why it doesn't have to be perfect in a bit. But we basically just come in here and outline this dude's entire body. And we just kind of come all the way down. We can do maybe one right there. Maybe, I mean, again, I'm already kind of screwing up, but the more time you take, the better it will look. And I can't stress that enough, but we come around here. And I'm just going to go right through the crosshair because that's not really all too important in this. And then we come there, and then we go there, then there. Get the little tip of the sword right there. And almost finished here. Come around here, connect it, and you'll see that little circle. And that means you're closing it. So we have this selected. And what we're going to want to do is right click it and go layer via copy. And basically now we have this selected. We have the person selected. And another thing that I'm going to do, you've been seeing in a lot of my recent videos, is I'm going to do the lasso tool again. And unfortunately he's kind of bumping up into his health. You could include the health as well, but I'm just going to pass on that. With rectangles, you don't really need the lasso tool because you don't need different points. It's just a straight out rectangle. So you can come in there with the rectangle tool and just very easily draw a thing around here. So we have that. Actually, I don't like that because you can see that corner was kind of cut off. The G bumps down a little bit lower, so we're going to try to draw it again and give the G a little bit of space there. That looks... we're going to go in one there. Okay, perfect. So that looks good. We're going to just make sure you're not selected on layer 1. You want to actually select back to the main layer. I'll show you what happens if you try to copy on layer 1, layer via copy. Could not make the new layer from the selection because the selection area is empty. Because this is the selected area right here and we're above it. So you want to go back to layer 1, do the same thing, layer via copy. And again, if we were to turn off this, you can see that these two are now selected. So what we want to do with these is pretty simple. I mean, we're pretty much already done. These, again, don't take very much effort. And me explaining it actually probably takes longer than you just doing it once you figure it out. Anyway, we'll start off with layer 1 here. Right-click it, blending options. And this is basically what everyone does. You throw a stroke on there. Go to color, throw that on white. As you can see, looking pretty hot with a nice 3. I might even go 4. We're gonna go 3 for now and see what it looks like. Oops. I forgot to do that. Inner glow always looks nice. I don't know why it defaults to that, but switch that to white as well. And I usually do a little bit more on this, so I go, you know, it just, whatever looks nice to you. Inner glow looking pretty good there. I think that'll probably be it for that. And what you can do, instead of doing that whole process again, you can actually just right-click the layer 1 here and hit copy layer style. And then you can right-click on layer 2 and just say paste layer style, and it applies what you did in 1 to 2. But then again, I do not actually want that inner glow to be so much. In fact, I'm not even sure I want an inner glow. I think I'm going to turn that way down to like maybe nothing. Maybe like 1. Yeah, 1 sounds good. Stroke is, I think, even a bit much. I'm going to go down to 2 on that. And so we're good with that. That's kind of our main thing. So if we zoom out to regular size, this is what regular size looks like. So you can see that we're actually, it's still pretty damn small. The person is pretty damn small. So it'd be very hard to see on a thumbnail. Remember, it's a lot smaller than you think. So what we're going to do is actually Control T on the main person here. And we're just going to make it bigger. You don't want to make it too huge. Remember, hold Shift to keep the ratio correct. But that's actually a little bit too big. But you can kind of get away with this stuff in a thumbnail because it's not really something that you're gonna pay too much attention to. You can make them. Honestly, I could probably get away with even this. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Make it about that big, I'd say. Go right about there. Make sure. I guess he's over the shadow. All right, so. You can see the names behind, but all we want to do there is just click and drag that one up, and then Control T on this, and we can make this bigger. Put that right over here. Now, as you can see, this stuff in the background is a little bit problematic. This is going to get a little bit complicated, and I didn't actually really think that it was going to get this complicated, so hopefully you guys can follow along, as I'm not even the best at it. But you're going to want to actually, if you run into a situation where you have something in the background that you don't want, this is going to take some time. So you take the clone stamp tool right here, and basically it'll be easier if you honestly watch a video on this, because it's going to be hard for me to explain because I'm not very good at it. But hold Alt, click on a color that you want to replace. So I'm going to hold Alt, click on the white there. Make sure you're on the first layer, but I'm going to select here, and then you can see where that crosshair is. That's what color, well, that's where you are on the actual image. So I can come in here and actually erase that, replacing it with the color of cloud in the background. You just have to be quite careful as to not really rush this part, because it's going to look really weird if you decide to rush it. But it's not too difficult, honestly. This is it's Minecraft. It's pretty easy to get rid of stuff like that. And this is where it gets a little bit harder, because you have different colors of wood and whatnot. So I just come in here and we'll try our very best to kind of solve this issue. I don't know how it'll go, but you just take your time. Again, I might not take my route if you don't want to have to deal with this kind of stuff, but you know, it's not the worst thing in the world. All right, and there you go. It doesn't have to be perfect, again, because you're not going to see that. As you can see from this is how it's going to look. You cannot even tell that it's actually, like, when you really get zoomed in, yeah, it's not the cleanest, but it doesn't matter if you're this far away, especially when you're even smaller in a thumbnail. So that's basically how you deal with that. You just take your time and clone stamp that away if you have that issue. But now this guy's actually bigger, which looks a lot better. Obviously, it's a thumbnail. You could even go bigger than this if you wanted. You could, like, make him like this big, move him around, get rid of him here or something, or pan the shot. Like, you can get pretty creative with this. I'm not going to, because it's a simple tutorial. So that's kind of what we have going on here. Nice glow, simple around the name if that's important. Like, with some kind of action shot like this, you'd want to add some text. Go over to your text and, oops, delete that. Go over to your text, put it down here, and it would be something like, but we'd want that like right there. That's fine. You, again, remember that thumbnails are much smaller than you think, so you're gonna want it probably even bigger than that. But again, I put my person in a spot where I can't really have something bigger than that. But and then you could do the same thing here with the combo. I would actually use a drop shadow, maybe spread that out a little bit. I'd do an inner shadow, a stroke for sure, except I'm going to keep it in black, and I might increase it to 4. You could even do a color if you wanted. I mean, that actually kind of pops pretty well, to be honest with you. I usually like white, but red, we'll go with red for now, just because why not? And obviously there's so many different things that you could change from what I'm doing, different fonts, different poses, different strategies with the outlining. You don't have to do white. You can do different shadowing. There's a ton of different stuff you could do to make it unique. But we're basically done here. We're gonna go back to layer 1, go up to filter, go to blur. I like to throw in a Gaussian blur in the background, so this pops out right here. You can see the difference between the little blur and not a blur. He stands out a lot more with the blur, in my opinion. You could even go more than that. It's a very slight blur. I might even maybe try a stronger blur than that. I'd go with, like, I don't know, you could even go way higher than this, but that makes him pop out pretty well. It's very simple, but the last step you're gonna wanna do, make sure the whole thing's in your field of view here, and I just like to make a little border on mine. You kind of want to make it close to exact. Again, it won't be too noticeable if it's not exact, because it's a thumbnail and they're very small, but that looks about right. Right click after you selected this, do select inverse. There are shortcuts to all these, but I don't really know them off the top of my head. So you select this little border on the back there, and then you do the layer via copy, and that'll create a new layer. And I just go back to test 1 here. So now that you have that new layer, you can actually do kind of what I did yesterday. I actually really liked, which was a drop shadow along the outside here, which I thought looked really sick. To do something like this. As you can see, it has a nice little tapering effect there. You know, you can mess around with, you don't want to probably go anything more than that, but you want to see, like, I think right around there looks pretty dope. That's pretty nice. I don't really think there's anything more that you could do. So I think that's pretty much it. It's a very simple thumbnail, kind of a very simple thing I would go with if you are in need of a thumbnail and you don't really know how to do a more complex one. I just go with something very simple that looks cleaner than a default thumbnail and takes a little bit more effort, obviously, but it doesn't take too much time. You can literally, I could whip these up in about 4 to 5 minutes if. But anyways, I think that'll conclude today's video. Again, I know a lot of you guys wanted this, and some of you probably don't care at all. Some of you don't, most of you don't make videos. Hopefully those of you who are still here at the end of this video, hopefully you guys took this as more of just of a creative video for me, something different. And even if you don't make videos, it might have been interesting. Hopefully it wasn't too boring. It might have been super boring. I apologize to those who don't make videos but watched it anyways. If you don't make videos, you're not interested in this, and you watched it anyways, you are a real fan, and I really appreciate you. So thank you so much for watching, guys. Let me know by leaving a like or commenting down below if you want more tutorials, either on Photoshop, where I try to improve myself and just show you things I've learned, or secondly, even in Sony Vegas editing or anything like that. I have some things to offer, not a ton, because it's not like I'm the most experienced person in the world, but I do have stuff to offer if you guys are interested for beginners. But hopefully you enjoyed this. Maybe it'll turn into a series. Thanks for watching. See you guys next time. Peace.